Stop what you are doing and listen. Truly listen. For if you miss what I am about to reveal, you may walk through the remainder of your life as a beggar when you were born to command. The difference between the man who bends the world to his will and the man who is bent by it is not luck, is not talent. It is the way he thinks. And more precisely, it is how he believes. I am not here to inspire you. I am not here to entertain you. I am here to awaken you. You have within you the power to call forth riches, position, greatness, and command over your conditions. But only if you first seize control over the thing that controls everything else, your mind. This speech will not merely speak to your ears, it will instruct your spirit. If you will allow me to guide you, you shall come to know that the invisible laws that govern success are not hiding from you. They are awaiting your belief, your obedience, your decision. I urge you, do not skip, do not drift, do not wander away. Hear every word, for I have built this speech as I built my life's work, with purpose, with law, with spiritual power. This is not something you listen to once and discard. This is something you return to daily, as you would return to the well of life itself. Listen to this speech not once, but many times, for repetition is the medium by which faith is built. Let these words seep into your subconscious until they no longer feel like mine, but like your own. That is when the world will begin to bend, not to me, but to you. Now steel your mind, for I am about to show you that when you think as if nothing is impossible, when you believe as if the result is already yours, and when you act as if the world must obey, it will. The moment you accept this truth, the laws of success will no longer be hidden. They will be yours to command. Let us begin. Part 1, the hidden power behind your thoughts. If you do not yet possess what you desire, it is because you do not yet believe that you deserve it. The world is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It reflects not your potential, but your dominant belief. If you carry in your mind doubt, hesitation, or fear, the world will return to you conditions shaped by those very states of mind. But if you fill your mind with belief, decision, and purpose, then you will command the world to obey. You are not the victim of circumstance. You are the builder of it. But your tools are invisible, your thoughts, your beliefs, your inner dialogue. A man becomes what he believes, for belief is thought fused with emotion and decision. Dominating thoughts, once mixed with feeling and repeated with conviction, descend into the subconscious mind, and from there they are transformed into reality. That is not philosophy, that is law. There is no magic in this. There is no mystery. The great secret of all successful men is that they chose their thoughts with intention. They backed them with faith, and they held to them with persistence. They did not leave belief to chance. They made belief a discipline. When I tell you that the world bends to the man who acts as if nothing is impossible, I do not mean fantasy. I mean accurate thinking applied to definite purpose through the law of belief. You may work 12 hours a day. You may toil and struggle and sacrifice. But if your thoughts are vague, if your belief is weak, then your results will betray you. For the subconscious does not respond to effort. It responds to conviction. It responds to what you believe is already yours. That is why belief, when backed by definiteness, is more powerful than work alone. Work without belief is wasted energy. Belief without action is mere daydream, but belief fused with decision is power. There is a vast difference between a man who wishes and a man who believes. The one hopes vaguely, the other knows with certainty. The one waits for permission, the other acts without it. The one looks to the world for proof before he commits. The other commits and makes the world yield proof. The world does not reward the man who waits. It rewards the man who declares. Wishing is weakness, but belief supported by decision is irresistible force. And so I give you this truth. I am the master of my belief. What I believe with emotion and act upon with decision becomes real. Say it aloud, not once, but every morning, every night, until your mind no longer questions, until your speech and your posture and your action all declare it without hesitation. Speak it until the doubt is gone. Speak it until you become what you speak. The tongue is the steering wheel of the subconscious, and belief is the engine. If you hesitate, the world hesitates. If you believe, it obeys. That is the strange and perfect symmetry of life. You do not need to chase success. You need only to chase certainty. When your inner belief becomes definite, your outer world becomes obedient. Men do not win by chance. They win by internal cause. And that cause is always, without exception, a belief they refuse to question. You must now dismantle the resistance within you. Every excuse, every hesitation, every fear that says it may not work for me is a lie you accepted from the world. You were not born with that doubt. It was given to you by voices who gave up on their own power. Now is the hour to reject it. Tear it from your mind as you would tear weeds from your garden. Replace every mental hesitation with this phrase: "It is mine because I have decided." Some will tell you that acting as if is self-deception. They are mistaken. To act as if nothing is impossible is not fantasy. It is spiritual law. The Creator did not give you imagination so you could pretend. He gave you imagination so you could preview the future before it arrives. And belief makes the future arrive. Act as if the wealth is yours, and it will begin to assemble itself. Act as if the position is yours, and your mind will gather the means to achieve it. There is a spiritual principle at work here, one not taught in schools or whispered in the corridors of average thinking. It is this: what you consistently believe and act upon with feeling and definiteness must externalize in the world of form. The world does not resist your belief. It responds to it. It molds itself to your inner commands. You are not waiting for conditions to change. Conditions are waiting for you to believe. And so I say again with solemn intensity, if you change your mind and act as if it were already so, life has no choice but to conform. The laws of success are not delayed by your environment, your education, or your upbringing. They are delayed only by your indecision. If you wish to see change, you must first become it. Speak differently. Walk with conviction. Carry yourself as if you are already what you seek to become. Begin today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Begin now. Write your definite chief aim, state it aloud, say it with power, read it morning and night, back it with feeling. Command your inner world, and your outer world will follow. You are not small. You are not weak. You are a master builder, and your belief is your hammer. Use it. Shape your destiny with it. Declare, I am the man who makes the impossible submit, and act like it. Part 2, the faith that commands circumstances. Faith is not a passive thing. It is not a whisper in the dark or a timid hope. It is the mind's iron declaration that what I see within me shall become what surrounds me. Faith is power. It is fire. It is the force that drives men to move mountains, not because they have proof it can be done, but because they have decided it must be done. Faith is the spiritual substance by which every great achievement has ever been built. In Think and Grow Rich, I taught that faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion. This is the vital key. Faith is not given to you. You manufacture it by what you speak, what you feel, and what you repeat. Faith is the master chemistry of the mind. It is the elixir that gives life to thought. Without it, your aim is lifeless. With it, your thought becomes a spiritual command. It penetrates all resistance. Let me make this plain. You do not wait for faith to appear. You do not ask the world to give you evidence before you believe. That is not faith. That is indecision masquerading as logic. You decide to believe. You speak it, act upon it, live it, and the feeling will come. And once the feeling comes, it must be held, intensified, and directed toward your definite chief aim. That is how men build empires from nothing. Consider Henry Ford, a man not trained in engineering, not certified by academia, not backed by powerful men. He conceived the idea of the V8 engine and demanded it be built. His own engineers told him it was impossible. He told them, build it anyway. For months they returned with failure. And he said again, produce it. Why? Because he had faith. He saw it first in his mind. He believed it without apology. And the world obeyed his conviction. You must understand, the world bent to Ford because Ford never bent his belief. He did not compromise with doubt. He did not negotiate with logic. He issued a command from within and held to it without retreat. That is faith, not in others, not in systems, but in the power of thought, backed by decision. Ford did not wonder if the engine could be built. He acted as if it had already been done, and so it was. The power of acting as if is not play acting. It is preparation. It is spiritual law. When you move as the man who already possesses the goal, you train your subconscious to reject all that contradicts it. You are not pretending. You are programming. You are forming within your inner world a belief so strong, so consistent, so emotional, that your entire being begins to align with it. This is how you command circumstances. Let no one tell you faith is idle. Faith works harder than fear ever could, but it does not toil in the dark. It moves with vision. Faith sees the invisible. It speaks of the unseen. It walks into tomorrow fully clothed in today's confidence. The man who walks in faith does not require applause, proof, or reassurance. He acts from inner law, and the universe obeys him because he obeys his aim. I walk in faith, speak in faith, act in faith. The invisible shall become visible because I have decided it must. The tragedy of most men is not that they aim too high and miss, but that they never aim at all. They wait for signs, for guarantees, for applause from others before they commit. But the man who possesses faith has already committed internally, and therefore has no need for external consent. He acts with conviction, because he knows the world does not shape belief. Belief shapes the world. I repeat, faith is belief fused with emotion and fixed upon a definite chief aim. It is built by repetition, it is strengthened by decision, and it is proven by the fruits it produces. Show me a man of great faith, and I will show you a man of results. For faith is not invisible to the world. It leaves evidence. It leaves monuments. It leaves wealth. It leaves influence. These are not the source of faith. They are its result. You must now examine yourself. Do you speak your aim with belief, or do you whisper it with hesitation? Do you carry yourself as the man who knows his success is certain, or as one who only wishes it might come true? Remember, your outer world will not exceed your inner confidence. If you doubt, you delay. If you believe, you accelerate. Speak what you intend to receive. Speak it until your voice echoes in the walls of your own subconscious. Faith must also be guarded. It is fragile in the beginning. It must be protected from the criticisms of the faithless, the sarcasm of the mediocre, the doubts of the drifting. You must not share your vision with those who are blind to it. Walk alone if you must, but walk in belief. Speak your affirmations in private if the world mocks them, but speak them, feel them. Build your castle in thought and hold it there until stone begins to appear in the material world. Let me tell you something sacred. You will never possess what you are afraid to claim. If you fear to speak it, you will never build it. If you hesitate to believe it, you will never achieve it. The rich man once said, "To him that hath, more shall be given." But I say to you, the man who believes he has, even before the proof appears, shall receive that which others said was impossible. Now take up your definite chief aim once more. Read it aloud. Close your eyes and see it. Feel it in your hands. Walk through the corridors of your mind and sit at the table of your vision. Greet your future self. Shake his hand, hear his voice. Act as if it is already done, and it shall be done. Part 3. Nothing is impossible to the mind that believes. There is no such thing as impossible to the mind that believes. Impossibility is not a condition of the world. It is a confession of the man who has given up dominion over his own thoughts. When a man says, "It cannot be done," what he truly means is, "I do not believe I can do it." And because belief is the gatekeeper to action, that man never begins, never builds, never breaks through. He is defeated in the silence of his own thought. The world is not shaped by real limits. It is shaped by the limits that men accept. And these are not laws. They are lies, inherited from the failures of other men who pass their doubts forward as if they were truth. But I say to you, the mind of man, when fixed upon a definite object and backed by faith, must bring forth that which it conceives. For there is no idea that cannot be done. There are only men who doubt it. Understand the power of your own subconscious mind. It has no sense of humor. It does not mock you when you speak of greatness. It does not question whether your goals are too large. It does not evaluate logic. It simply accepts what you give it. If you feed it repetition, backed by emotion, it obeys. Whether that repetition is belief or fear, courage or doubt, wealth or poverty, it accepts and it begins to create accordingly. Let me give you the story of a man whose belief banished impossibility. Thomas Edison. The man who lit the world did not discover the electric lamp because he was the most educated. He was not the wealthiest. He did not possess a blueprint handed to him by fate. Number. He possessed one thing, and it was enough: a burning desire and an absolute belief that the light existed and must be brought forth. For 10,000 attempts, he met failure, yet he never accepted defeat. Do you understand the gravity of that? 10,000 trials, 10,000 obstacles, and never once did Edison accept the word impossible. He said, "I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that will not work." And with each so-called failure, his belief only deepened. He acted as if the light was already his, and so his mind found a way to make it real. This is not luck. This is not fate. This is spiritual law in motion. You may not be an inventor, but the principle is the same. If you hold your aim with the same intensity that Edison held his, and you believe in its arrival before the world sees it, the world will have no choice but to shape itself around your vision. You do not need 10 talents. You need one belief. And that belief, when fused with persistence, will bend the world to your plan. Let this affirmation now become your command. I command the impossible to submit. I speak what is to be, and I act until it is so. Say it with fire. Say it with vision. Say it until your actions become bold, your speech becomes certain, and your eyes begin to look only forward. There is no mountain that can resist the man who refuses to retreat. You must make up your mind that you are done negotiating with impossibility. Now I must warn you, there are thieves of this power. They do not wear masks. They do not break into your home. They break into your thoughts. They come in the form of the 6 ghosts of fear. If you are to walk in power, you must know their names and you must reject them daily. They are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. Of these, the 2 most dangerous to the man pursuing belief are the fear of criticism and the fear of poverty. The first paralyzes your expression. It causes you to hesitate before speaking your truth. The second imprisons your imagination. It causes you to believe you must stay small to survive. But let me make this plain. If you entertain these fears, even for a moment, you interrupt the current of faith. You cast doubt into the garden of your mind. If you wish to walk in belief, you must guard your inner world. No seed of doubt must be allowed to grow. You must watch your thoughts as a soldier watches the gate. You must speak only that which reinforces your power. For the subconscious listens. It listens always. It hears your casual words. It hears your jokes. It hears your complaints. And whatever you repeat, it accepts. So you must speak with intention. You must declare the impossible as inevitable. Do not say, I hope. Do not say, I wish. Say, I am. Say, it is done. Say, this is mine. And act in accordance. Dress as if. Move as if. Spend your time as if. Believe as if. Not because the evidence is there, but because you are planting the evidence. Because you are laying down spiritual cause before the physical effect has time to appear. This is how a man who believes lives. He does not wait. He creates. You may have been told you need more experience. You may have been told you are too late, too early, too poor, too unqualified. But the man who believes does not consult those opinions. He does not measure his power by the standards of the world. He measures it by the laws of thought, which obey belief and persistency, not pedigree. You are not what others say you are. You are what you decide to believe and what you consistently prove through action. Remember, failure is not final unless you believe it is real. The difference between the successful man and the defeated one is often not resources, not skill, not luck, but whether he accepted failure or simply reclassified it as another step. Every delay is a test of belief. Every obstacle is an invitation to double your faith. If you do not turn back, you will reach the result. For the world has no defense against a man who never quits. So go now. Face your doubts. Banish them. Replace them with declarations of belief. Look at your vision with new eyes and refuse to blink. Refuse to shrink. Refuse to second guess. Say aloud, nothing is impossible to me, for I believe without retreat, and I act without fear, and act now. Part 4, the mental ritual that changes reality. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are prepared to receive. And preparation does not begin in your environment. It begins in your thoughts. The man who waits for circumstances to change before he changes his behavior will always be waiting. But the man who changes himself first, who acts as if the future has already arrived, commands conditions to obey his example. This is the principle. Act as if it were already done, and it shall be. You must conduct yourself in thought, speech, and movement, like the man who already possesses the result. This is not deception. This is creation. Every man who ever achieved greatness walked before the world noticed him, thinking, believing, speaking, as if his name was already carved into history. It was not the world that crowned him. It was his conviction that demanded the crown. The mind is a creature of habit, and the subconscious mind, being without will of its own, follows the habits you assign to it. If you act as the poor man, it will deliver you poverty. If you act as the victim, it will create more injustice to support that identity. But if you act as the leader, the producer, the master of your fate, then your subconscious will begin to attract the ideas, the people, and the circumstances that match that image. And so I say to you, write your definite chief aim. Write it as if it is already complete. Do not say, I hope to become, say, I am. Do not write, I wish to have. Write, I now possess. Make your words bold, definite, unshakable. Then take that statement and read it aloud twice each day, once in the morning, once in the evening. Read it with emotion, read it with vision, read it until you believe it, and then read it more. You must see yourself already in possession of the result. That vision must live in your imagination. Not once, not when you feel inspired, but as a daily mental ritual. This is the act of training your subconscious to accept a new identity. Your old self, the one filled with doubt and delay, must be evicted. And your new self, the one who commands the impossible, must be invited in with every repetition of belief. Now understand, this ritual is not merely about reading words. It is about becoming the man described in those words. You must walk into your day as that man. You must speak to others with his posture. You must carry his tone, his rhythm, his spirit. When you speak of your aim, do so as if you are unveiling it. not requesting permission for it to exist. Act as if the ink on your destiny has already dried. Let me give you a living example. Andrew Carnegie. He did not build steel by force. He built it by belief. He did not wait for others to prove themselves before treating them as leaders. He treated every associate as if they were already great men. And by doing so, they rose to match the image he held of them. This is the silent law. When you act as if something is true long enough, it must become true. The ritual of morning and evening suggestion is no idle superstition. It is the furnace in which identity is reforged. If you rise each morning and immediately read your aim aloud with clarity and feeling, you set the tone for your day. If you speak it each night before retiring, you hand your subconscious a command to work upon while you sleep. Over time, this rhythm becomes your inner music, and it will override all previous noise. Now let us make this declaration. I conduct myself in thought, speech, and action as if I already possess the result I seek. Say it with finality. Do not whisper it. Own it. For what you declare repeatedly becomes law in the land of the subconscious. And once that law is written, the machinery of your mind begins to move in its service. Ideas emerge, energy increases, coincidences appear. Why? Because you have changed your vibration of identity. And let me be clear, this transformation does not require the approval of others. You do not need applause to act as if you are powerful. You do not need titles to behave with authority. You do not need wealth to speak like a builder of fortunes. These things come after the behavior, not before. Your actions must lead. Your emotions must follow. And the world must then respond. Let us speak of behavior. The man who acts as if he is defeated carries slouched shoulders, avoids eye contact, speaks in uncertain tones, and hides from challenge. The man who acts as if he is victorious stands tall, meets eyes directly, speaks with calm command, and walks toward the struggle with eagerness. These are not random traits. They are reflections of belief. You must choose which version of yourself you will breathe into being. But what if doubt remains? What if fear clings? Then act anyway. For action, repeated, will strangle doubt. There is no greater antidote to uncertainty than motion. You cannot wait to feel confident before you behave with conviction. That is not how transformation works. You must earn confidence through performance. Each time you act in faith, your mind collects evidence that you are who you say you are. And soon, a shift will occur. A new identity will emerge. One that no longer plays small. One that no longer hides behind past mistakes. One that no longer fears the opinions of the world. You will begin to carry your purpose with dignity. You will speak with the authority of belief. And the world will begin to treat you differently, not because it changed, but because you did. You are not here to impress others. You are here to express the full potential of the man within, and that man is waiting. He does not require more information. He requires repetition. He requires discipline. He requires a ritual of thought, of speech, of posture. And through that ritual, he will rise. Now I say again, write your aim. Speak it aloud, twice daily, with emotion, with vision, with certainty. Act as if it is already yours. Conduct yourself in the image of the man who has already received it. This is not fiction. This is the formula. Thousands have used it. You shall now be counted among them. Part 5. What the subconscious obeys. There is but one thing over which you have absolute control, and that is your own mind. This truth is the cornerstone of all achievement. You may not control others. You may not control the tides of the economy or the decisions of men, but you control your thoughts, and by mastering that internal dominion, you come to influence all that is external. All else in your life will follow the pattern of your belief. Your subconscious mind is the silent builder of your circumstances. It is the unseen hand shaping your conditions, but it is not creative on its own. It must be directed. It does not originate thought, it receives it. It does not distinguish between truth and falsehood, wealth or poverty, victory or defeat. It acts upon whatever you impress upon it through repetition and emotional intensity. What you plant, it must grow. Think now of your subconscious as a fertile field. If you plant thorns, doubt, fear, limitation, those shall take root and overrun the garden. But if you plant strength, purpose, belief, and clarity, and water them daily with conviction, then abundance shall rise. The field does not argue. It does not discriminate. It obeys. Your job is not to beg the soil to grow. Your job is to sow deliberately and to weed out the seeds of confusion. The subconscious responds best to commands spoken aloud, repeated daily, and backed with definite emotion. This is why I have insisted upon writing your definite chief aim and reading it twice daily. It is not a ritual for ritual's sake. It is a programming instruction to your inner world. The mind, once charged with definite thought, begins to seek every opportunity, connection, and circumstance that aligns with that command. But there is another force, one more powerful than the isolated mind alone. It is the master mind. When two or more minds are brought together in harmony, fixed upon a common objective, a third mind, a greater mind, is formed. This is not philosophy. This is principle. The minds of great men are made greater through association with other minds that share their belief, their clarity, their burning desire. Let me tell you the story of Charles M. Schwab, one of the brightest examples of applied belief through the mastermind principle. He was not born wealthy. He did not inherit power, but he carried within him a belief that he could rise. He aligned himself with Andrew Carnegie, who recognized not merely Schwab's talent, but his spirit, his definiteness. Schwab acted and believed as if he already could lead men, and soon he did. Carnegie placed him in charge of the greatest steel operation in the nation, not because of his years, not because of credentials, but because he had the spirit of command forged in belief. Schwab's mind, joined with Carnegie's, produced plans, strategies, and ideas neither could have conceived alone. The power of the mastermind was the furnace, and faith was the fuel. Together they built an empire of steel. Now listen carefully. Your subconscious mind will mirror the dominant belief of those you associate with most often. If you keep company with doubters, their doubt will poison your subconscious. If you walk with critics, their negativity will cloud your inner vision. But if you form a mastermind alliance with those who believe, those who affirm, those who pursue with purpose, then your belief will multiply. You must therefore choose your influences as a king chooses his counsel. Let no man or woman into your inner circle who does not support your vision. Let no conversation enter your ears that weakens your conviction. Let no habitual voice dwell near your subconscious if it does not speak of growth, power, and purpose. You are the gatekeeper. You must guard your mind as the treasury of your destiny. Repeat this affirmation aloud. My subconscious receives only commands of power, purpose, and triumph. It obeys my dominant desire. Say it in the morning. Say it in the evening. Say it when doubt knocks, and when delay tempts you to slow down. Your subconscious listens, it always listens, and the voice it hears the most, it obeys the fastest. Now let us make this practical. If you do not yet have a mastermind alliance, form one. Find one man, one woman who believes as you do. Meet regularly. Speak only of victory. Review your aims. Share your affirmations. Eliminate idle speech, weak talk, and fear-driven thoughts. Let your meetings be focused, definite, and high-minded. For in such alliance, you do not merely increase your intellect, you multiply your influence. And if you cannot find such men or women, then walk with the minds of those who left their thoughts in books. Read the words of great builders, bold leaders, visionaries. Let their ideas become your silent counsel until you stand strong enough to gather the living around you. You are never alone if you walk with powerful thought. Remember this law: the subconscious mind does not create, it responds. And when multiple minds are fixed on a common definite aim, they generate a current of belief too strong for any barrier to resist. If your aim is strong, your faith fixed, your alliance harmonious, then the world must yield. You must now cleanse your inner world of contradiction. There must be no division between your desire and your conversation, no gap between your goal and your posture. The subconscious cannot carry out double-mindedness. It will delay when it senses doubt. It will hesitate when you hesitate. So speak only with clarity. Think only with purpose. Surround yourself only with minds that feed your conviction. In the final analysis, success is not a question of environment or opportunity. It is a question of who controls your mind. The man who claims dominion over thought commands life, and the man who allows his mind to drift with the opinions of others will be forever lost in their mediocrity. So take up your aim. Repeat it aloud. Let your voice stir the depths of your subconscious. Align yourself with those who reinforce your belief. And know this above all: your world will become what your inner alliance insists upon. Part 6, the destroyer of doubt. Indecision is the seedbed of failure. It is the breeding ground of fear, hesitation, and drift. Where there is no decision, there is no direction. And where there is no direction, there can be no victory. A man who cannot decide will forever bow to the man who can. For life favors the bold, not the reckless, but the definite. And decision is the first act of the definite man. Doubt has no power until you feed it, and the food it thrives upon is indecision. The moment you delay, you have already begun to retreat. You may dress your delay in careful language, call it prudence, wisdom, caution, but the subconscious knows. It feels your hesitation and mirrors it. The longer you stall, the deeper the roots of fear grow. The world waits for no man. It responds to decision and recoils from confusion. Faith cannot operate in a house divided. You cannot claim to believe in your purpose while postponing your commitment to it. The man who says, "I am waiting for a sign," will never act. The man who says, "I must think about it," is already being ruled by fear. Decision is not born of perfect clarity. It is born of inner authority. You must say, "This is my path," and walk it, even while the road ahead is not yet visible. Now let us examine the cost of indecision. Every time you hesitate, you train your mind to distrust itself. The subconscious, being always obedient, watches your delay and begins to believe you are not serious. It withdraws its energy. It ceases to build. The ideas stop flowing. The will begins to weaken. And soon the window of opportunity that once stood open has closed. Not by fate, but by your own indecision. Contrast this with the power of decision. When you decide, your energy returns. Your mind sharpens. The world shifts. You begin to notice the tools, the allies, the chances you missed while doubting. Life rewards the man who has made up his mind. For nature herself does not permit waste, and no greater waste exists than a mind divided against itself. Let us look to the example of Abraham Lincoln, a man of deep inner struggle, uncertainty, and criticism. In his youth, he knew the pain of ridicule, the sting of failure, the burden of loneliness. But amidst all this, he made a quiet decision. He would leave a mark upon the world. That decision, once made, governed his every step. He was not perfect. He did not always see the way clearly, but he had decided, and that decision gave birth to one of the greatest destinies in history. It was not Lincoln's eloquence alone that gave him power. It was his moral conviction, his inner decision that right must be done, and that he would bear the weight of doing it. When others doubted, he remained fixed. When the Union trembled, he stood steady. Decision makes a man immovable, not because the winds do not blow, but because he is rooted in belief. This is your call now. You must cease wandering between possibilities. Choose your aim. Fix it. Commit. You do not need perfect plans before you begin. You need only the will to begin. The plans will unfold as you move. The doors will open as you walk, but the world will not kneel to the man who has not stood for himself. Let this be your affirmation. I decide. I act. I believe. I do not waver. And the world follows the man who does not flinch. Speak it when you feel unsure. Speak it when fear whispers. Speak it until your heart believes it and your steps embody it. There is a power in the man who has made up his mind, and that power calls forth everything required to fulfill the decision. I remind you, the greatest enemy of progress is not failure, it is doubt. Failure teaches, failure refines, but doubt paralyzes. It leaves you cold and motionless, staring at the door, but never turning the handle. You must choose now. Will you be a man of waiting or a man of movement? Will you live according to your vision or according to your fears? When you look upon your definite chief aim, do not entertain questions. Do not wonder if you are worthy. You are. Do not ask if it is possible. It is. The only question that matters is, will you decide to pursue it with everything you have? That is all. And once you answer that question with certainty, every other question fades. Understand this law. Decision burns bridges. It removes retreat. The man who succeeds does so because he has eliminated the possibility of turning back. When the mind knows there is no escape, it summons strength previously unknown. You have more power in you than you have used, but that power will not awaken while you are still choosing. So I instruct you, write your decision, speak it, commit to it in action. Move now, not tomorrow, not when the fear fades. Move while the fear trembles in your shadow. Move while doubt stands frozen behind you. For the moment you move with conviction, you will feel a strength you forgot you had. You will feel alive again. And the world will see it. They will see a man who has made up his mind. They will sense the fire behind your eyes, the certainty in your step, the resonance in your voice, and they will follow. For men follow clarity. They follow decisiveness. They follow those who know where they are going. You are such a man if you decide to be. You need no permission, no validation, only the will to speak, to move, to persist. You are the master, and doubt is the servant that must be dismissed. Let us go on. Part 7, what stops the faithful? Fear is not real. It is not substance. It is not solid. It is mist, vapor, smoke of the mind. But it becomes a wall to the man who believes it, and it becomes a prison to the man who obeys it. Fear has no power unless you grant it with your attention, your imagination, your indecision. And yet, fear has kept more men poor, small, and silent than poverty, failure, or death ever could. I tell you plainly, fear is the devil's greatest tool. It causes drifting. It clouds clarity. It poisons vision. In Outwitting the Devil, I revealed what I learned in my study of thousands of men, those who failed, those who succeeded. The difference was always this. The successful man learned to think and act in spite of fear, while the unsuccessful man waited for fear to vanish before he moved. And fear does not vanish. It must be defied. There are 6 ghosts of fear, and if you do not name them, they shall live in you without your knowledge. First, the fear of poverty. Second, the fear of criticism. Third, the fear of ill health. Fourth, the fear of loss of love. Fifth, the fear of old age. Sixth, the fear of death. These 6, when left unchallenged, rule over man like unseen masters. But when exposed, when named, when rejected, they dissolve. Let us speak first of the fear of criticism, for it is the most subtle and most deadly to ambition. It causes men to lower their voices, to soften their declarations, to delay their aims. A man who fears what others will say can never fully speak his vision. He walks in the shadows of other men's opinions. He becomes small, not because the world made him so, but because he surrendered his voice. I say to you, you must not fear to be misunderstood. You must not fear to be doubted. You must not fear to be alone in your vision. Every great leader, every builder, every innovator, every man of faith walked through the valley of criticism before reaching the mountain of success. The world does not cheer the man at the start. It doubts him, it mocks him, it resists him. But if he persists, the world will one day stand in awe of what he has built. Now let us turn to the fear of poverty, the most common and the most crippling. This fear paralyzes initiative. It whispers, "What if you fail?" It tells the man to play it safe, to wait, to preserve instead of pursue. But wealth does not come to the cautious. It comes to the bold. The man who fears poverty shall always serve the man who fears nothing. For faith and fear do not dwell in the same house. Let us look to the example of John D. Rockefeller. He was not born into riches. He was born into hardship, uncertainty, and struggle. But he decided early that he would master his world. He was called reckless, dangerous, mad. He invested when others retreated. He bought when others sold. He moved forward when others froze. He did not fear loss because he believed in gain. And the world, once confused by his conviction, came to admire it. You must train yourself to move in the face of fear. You must feel it rise and act anyway. You must hear its voice and speak louder. Fear is not your master unless you kneel to it. But when you stand, when you move, when you refuse to bow, fear has no choice but to flee. It cannot hold its ground against faith in motion. Action is the fire that burns fear away. Let us now make this declaration together. I do not shrink. I do not stall. I am immune to fear, for I am acting under a definite chief aim. Say it with your chest lifted. Say it while your hands tremble. Say it until they no longer do. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to advance while afraid. And each time you do, you become more powerful than you were the day before. You must also be ruthless with the voices you permit into your life. Fear is contagious. It spreads from man to man like disease. If you walk with cowards, you will begin to speak their language. If you confide in doubters, you will begin to hear their warnings in your own mind. But if you surround yourself with the brave, with the builders, with those who believe, then fear will have no air in which to breathe. There will come moments, nights, mornings, long hours, when fear will attempt to return. It will whisper of failure, shame, or rejection. In those moments, you must respond not with silence, but with affirmation. Speak aloud your aim. Recall your victories. Act with small steps if you must, but act. Do not sit still, for fear thrives in stillness, but it flees from motion. You must now decide who rules your house, the voice of fear or the voice of faith. You cannot serve both. One must be exiled. One must be dethroned. And this is done not once, but daily. Every day is a battlefield, every thought a weapon. And if you do not command your mind, something else will. Do not let fear rob you of your inheritance. You were born with the power to believe. You were born with the ability to decide. You were born with the right to act. These are divine gifts. Use them. And when fear returns, remind it. I have chosen to walk in faith. I have chosen to move forward. I have chosen to live by purpose, not by panic. You are not alone in this. Every man who ever triumphed stood in your place. They all felt the cold breath of fear, but they walked anyway. They believed anyway. And by doing so, they became the giants of their time. You are not different. You are not smaller. You are simply waiting for your own command. Give it now. Declare, I walk in power. I walk in clarity. I walk through fear and leave it behind me. And begin again. Begin strong. Begin without apology. Begin with decision. Let us proceed. Part 8. Speak and walk as the person you demand to become. Your thoughts are commands. Your words are blueprints. Your movements are decrees. Every act of speech, posture, and action sends a signal, not only to the world, but to your own subconscious, affirming who you are becoming. And that identity, once planted, must bear fruit. The world does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being. So I ask you now, who are you commanding yourself to become? If you still speak as the man who doubts, the man who delays, the man who waits for permission, then no matter what goals you write, your life will mirror that identity. But if you now speak with certainty, walk with authority, and carry the bearing of one who already possesses the outcome, then life begins to conform to the shape of your belief. Identity is not discovered. It is declared and repeated into existence. Every morning you rise, you are given the opportunity to assume the role, not the role of who you were yesterday, but the role of who you are deciding to be. You must now speak only the language of the man who has achieved. You must move like him, think like him, rise like him, and work like him. The inner becomes the outer. The imagined becomes the manifested. The assumed becomes the actual. There is a law for this. I called it cosmic habit force. It is the unseen power that takes repeated thoughts and actions and molds them into habits, into destiny. The man who acts as if he is powerful, even when he is uncertain, begins to become powerful. Not because he fakes strength, but because he practices it into permanence. This law does not discriminate. It works for weakness or for strength. Your rituals decide which. This is why you must no longer wait for circumstances to confirm your identity. You must lead them. Speak not as a man who is trying. Speak as a man who has arrived. Do not say, I will become. Say, I am. Do not ask for permission. Give yourself the order. For your subconscious does not question. It obeys. And when you begin to speak, walk, and move as your future self, your mind cannot distinguish the difference, so it builds accordingly. Let me show you an example of this principle in action. Woodrow Wilson, a man once hidden in the shadows of academia, unknown to the world stage. But within him burned a vision, not of who he was, but of who he must become. He began to act, to speak, and to lead as though he were destined for the highest post in the land. And though he began in obscurity, his identity governed his journey. He became president not because he was chosen, but because he chose himself first. This is your great lesson. The world believes in the man who first believes in himself. When you carry yourself with the gravity of purpose, the steadiness of decision, and the bearing of certainty, others will begin to adjust to your presence. Doors will open. Eyes will turn. Opportunities will appear. But these are not causes, they are effects. The cause is always identity. The cause is always belief acted upon. So I say to you now, write your identity. As you would write your chief aim, write the traits, the conduct, the spirit of the man you are becoming. Describe his speech, his courage, his self-control, his decisiveness, and begin without delay to embody him today, in small steps, in large declarations, in silent practices. And let that new version of you become so familiar that the old self fades into history. Repeat this final affirmation. I am what I have decided to become. I act as if nothing is impossible, because nothing is when I believe. Say it until your voice carries it with ease. Say it until your shoulders rise with strength. Say it until your habits begin to match your words. For the world will not believe it until you do. But once you do, there is no force that can deny you. You are not what others think you are. You are not your past failures. You are not your doubts. You are not your setbacks. You are a being of thought, faith, and will. You are capable of transforming your world by transforming your identity. And you do so not by waiting, but by deciding, by repeating, by acting every hour, every day. The voice you now use must be firm. The steps you now take must be certain. The choices you now make must be final. For the law does not respond to wishful men. It responds to those who walk in belief. If you would be followed, lead. If you would receive, give. If you would become, declare it, and move. There is no future reward without present identity. There is no crown without bearing the weight first in silence. But once you do, the shift begins. You will speak, and others will listen. You will act, and results will follow. You will command, and life will respond. Not because it is owed to you, but because you earned it in thought, word, and action. And so we close with power. Begin this very day. Assume the identity. Read your aim. Speak your affirmations. Act without doubt. Reject fear. Step into the role, and never again remove the crown from your head. This world will bend, not to the loudest, not to the richest, not to the fastest, but to the most believing. Let that be you. Let that be the man you are, now and forever.